Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John, that's my cohort and commentary Ashton, and this is our NXT review. And this was the go-home show before NXT TakeOver Philadelphia this Saturday. And I gotta say, it was a good go-home show. Do I think it was anything exemplary? No, save for the final match and segment. I thought that was masterful. We got a lot of squash matches on this show, and I was kind of about that. But I will say, let me put it to you like this. The main event match was amazing. The main event segment was amazing. And I think a lot of the non-wrestling stuff that they had was amazing. Like, it's weird because when I say it like that, you'd think this was an episode of Lucha Underground because we always say that we prefer their cinematics and their narrative. That was kind of the case with NXT tonight. I preferred more like the non-wrestling stuff, TM61, Shayna Baszler and Ember Moon sit down, all that stuff. The matches left me wanting, again, save for the main event. But you know what? Maybe that's actually ideal before TakeOver Philadelphia because that's the stuff you really should be waiting for. So on the whole, yeah, I guess this was mission accomplished for this go-home show. Partner, what'd you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, there were really only two. You said there were a lot of squash matches. There were two of them, and one match that never even really got started that would have been a squash match if it had. But I
Yeah.
agree that that was kind of a negative thread that I hadn't even really noticed. But I will also say that the one, Bianca versus Latoya, wasn't bad at all. And again, like you said, I just want to repeat everything you said. Everything outside of the non-main event matches was great.
Yeah, I mean, that is just fantastic. So, I mean, let's get right into it. First segment, heat of the night. I mean, I already kind of aired my nitpick with some of the squash matches we got, and you were right. The AOP thing wasn't even a squash, but we all know it would have been. So that was just like another very quick, hurried segment. But yeah, I feel like, again, the non-wrestling stuff was fantastic. So really nothing to complain about here. What about you, Ashton? Any nitpicks or heats of the night that you want to air out?
No, this is a really good show. I don't have any negatives to say that you didn't already kind of touch on.
All right, sweet. Then let us get right into our NXT review. And we open up with the return, and it's great to see him. No Way Jose against Cesar Bononi.
Has Jose been injured this whole time?
I feel like he has been. I feel like he's been
Okay,
off injured
that
for
makes
good
a lot
while.
of sense because he looks like he needs a few months to get back in better shape because he had a little bit of a pot belly tonight.
Yeah, a little bit. And, it was good to see him, though. It's funny because I look at the NXT Championship picture, and we're probably going to have a nice, robust discussion about it with our NXT TakeOver Philadelphia preview and predictions, which is going to be tomorrow. God, that's going to be insane. But, we've always kind of seen in Jose this, kind of boundless charisma and stuff like that. And we feel like he's done so well with the No Way Jose gimmick. I mean, that tagline, I can turn any fiesta into a fight, stuff like that. I love the packaging and everything, and it's great to see him get back on track here. This was really, I don't want to say a nothing match because Benoni has been built a little bit. He got a victory over the old Andrade. I'll say it like that. And clearly NXT,
Oh, I love that.
yeah, and clearly NXT has like an investment in him. So he was able to get a little bit like an inverted atomic drop here, a power slam there. But, Jose always responded in kind. And ultimately, he does get the win with kind of like his knockout punch. Um, Honestly, again, like not to be that guy, but like I really would have liked if Jose maybe had a little bit of a post match promo, kind of reintroduced himself to everybody. But for what this wasn't bad. And No Way Jose is actually one of those guys that I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of 2018 they have. So, what did you think about this?
Yeah, I'm kind of along those same lines. I was not really, into this match. I liked seeing Jose back and just having his entrance by itself back is an awesome thing. I really, like you kind of mentioned, I felt kind of underwhelmed by the match as a whole, but happy to have Jose back. And Benoni is just one of those guys where he's just going to be that reliable hand to, he's going to be that guy that gets to, lose to debuting stars and lose to returning stars and maybe get a surprise win every now and then, like he did that one time against Almas and that kind of stuff. Because he really does have a great look. And I do think that eventually they will give him a push. They will give him an opportunity to kind of win the hearts of the NXT universe. And I mean, at that point, it's up to him to connect with the crowd. But I really do think that he's going to get his shot within the next couple years. And for now, Jose picks up the big win here in his first match back from his injury. He's got some months to get in shape. It kind of reminds me, Cage. When Cage was in FCW, he had a major injury that took him months to recover from too. And that was when he lost all that weight and he kind of looked a little bit on the skinny side. But you look at Cage before the injury and after he got back in shape, and you would never recognize the guy that was in FCW for that.
Right. Yeah, I think you articulated all the finer points of this, so I think we can move on. What came after this?
After this, we had an Aleister Black video package, which kind of, included the recap of him getting screwed by Adam Cole in that 4-way. And then it also kind of bled into Adam Cole's promo on him, talking about how, oh, you've been around for so long, you've got this big prestigious reputation, but you've only ever beaten no names. I'm out of your league. You're never going to be able to stick around with me. I'm just plain better than you.
Which, I love this because I love Adam Cole, and as we've established many times on this podcast, he is perfect.
Yeah,
But
he's not wrong when he says he's better than Aleister.
Yeah, of course. But like, if I'm the rest of the Undisputed Era, I'm kind of side eyeing him a little bit because two of those no names that Black beat were O'Reilly and Fish. So like, the fuck you trying to say, Cole? But no, this is great. I'm actually really looking forward to their Extreme Rules match again. We are going to have just an in-depth discussion about it tomorrow for preview predictions. So I'm trying to stay mullen about a lot of the stuff here. But yeah, I think those two are going to kill in Philadelphia, especially with it being an Extreme Rules match and that crowd. And knowing that I think ROH has performed like in front of Philadelphia many times, and Adam Cole had a long tenure there. Aleister Black is just a kick-ass gimmick. Like, I think all the ingredients are in place for a perfect storm, dude. I'm really excited to see what those two can do given the environment and everything else.
Yeah.
So with that said, I guess we can move on. What came after this?
Bianca Belair versus Latoya. And for those of you that are not familiar at all, Latoya was Luscious Latasha on the Indies and in Shine and whenever, everywhere she worked. I think she did just go by Latasha at a point, but that's if you're not familiar with her as Latoya, you might be familiar with her as Luscious Latasha. But yeah, this was one of those matches that you referred to as a squash. I would argue this is more of like kind of the classic NXT exhibition match because it wasn't as one-sided as Jose Bononi. But yeah, Bianca dominated most of the match. Latoya got a little bit in there, but the cool thing was like she at one point went up to the middle rope, and on her way down, she was met with the hair whip.
Yeah, I think Bianca Belair, she's got a great look. The exhibition, I think, was smart because I know we've seen her post Mae Young Classic, but there's been a lot of time between appearances, so it's good for her to get reacclimated. Bianca Belair is really one of those question marks to me in the division because, and again, we're going to really get more into this in preview predictions tomorrow. Got to keep plugging that shit. But, with the advent of Shayna Baszler, with her now being in the mix, I think that changes the makeup of everything drastically. And, in an era that wouldn't have Shayna Baszler, wouldn't have these big names, I honestly could see Bianca as being like a top female heel. Again, I usually make the distinction between new NXT and old NXT. I feel like old NXT, Bianca Belair could have almost been maybe in that Charlotte role, where she just kind of presides over everything. Now it's a bit more of a question mark. And that's not necessarily a bad thing because I think this will allow Bianca Belair to reach her full potential and not be skyrocketed so fast for a role that she's not ready for.
I mean, to be fair, you mentioned Charlotte. To me, Bianca is pretty much what Charlotte was, but better in every way. Like, she's more athletic than Charlotte. She's stronger than Charlotte. She somehow manages to botch less than Charlotte ever has. She's a better talker than Charlotte. She's in better shape than Charlotte. Like anything that you can name that Charlotte has that's a positive trait, Bianca also has that, except more of it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And when you look at pro wrestling, and I've always been of the belief that, for me, and I'm not going to get exact with these percentages here. I don't want to like nitpick and get into that whole debate, but I would say the majority of it comes down to aesthetics, and everything else is kind of secondary. She has an amazing look. Like that's the kind of look I think that was made for pro wrestling. And I love the whole EST gimmick.
And she also has the power couple thing going for her because she and Montez Ford are an item.
And I so want that to be a thing, and I would hope that a heel Montez Ford would, like, tone it down a bit and not be like an obnoxious Mojo Rawley 2.0, because I see a lot, because I've seen photos of them together, and I see potential in that. I really do. Like, I'm championing Bianca Belair here because I don't want her to fail. We don't want anybody to fail on this podcast, but she has a ways to go. We even talked about it at our year-end awards when I gave her Most Improved. That isn't to be conflated with, oh, she should be NXT Women's Champion right now. No, you slow that shit down, you develop, you refine, and you get the best female performer you can. And I actually think that bar is pretty high.
That's what I'm most worried about, because she's already got kind of that star factor in the sense that like she has that magneticism that we were talking about earlier with Puma and PJ Black and AJ Styles. She kind of has that factor already. And those are the type of people that Vince likes to call up early. And I really do not want to see her get called up anytime, even within the next, like, I'd say 18 months. Like, at the very earliest, I think I'd be okay with her getting called up at WrestleMania in 2019, or post Mania Raw, I mean, in 2019.
Yeah, that timetable's agreeable to me. I just want her to have a proper maturation period, because that's going to benefit everybody, including her. You know, because I can tell you the talent themselves probably don't like being a freaking burnout, because they probably look at themselves and think, you know, what happened? What went wrong? Well, I'll tell you what went wrong. The system really didn't put enough time and care into you that they should have. You know, that's why we like, and see, this is what always kind of frustrates me. And again, I'm saying this potentially for nothing. Maybe they will take their time with Bianca Belair. But you talk about how you have this really developed, really sophisticated performance center. Use it. Use it. Don't feel the need to push these people out the door. You know, really use these resources that you're constantly bragging about, that you're the best in the world. Make these talents the best they can be. Because if you really take your time with Bianca Belair, she could be an amazing asset to the women's division, both in NXT, and then when she's ready for the main roster. I honestly believe that. I really don't want this to be a story where you and I are randomly playing Rocket League one night and we're like, man, you know what? Bianca Belair could have been so good had they just really done better by her. I really don't want that to be the case. This was a fine exhibition match. The reverse kind of power bomb thing that she does, I'm still not totally
I
in love
dig
with
that,
it.
man. I like that as a finisher. It's different.
Yeah, I know, like, because we had this conversation before. You dug it. I was apprehensive. I'm still apprehensive, but I'm starting to, it's starting to grow on me. I think it's one of those things that when I really see it get built up and it's beating bigger people, like if it beat Nikki Cross, for instance, I'd be like, oh shit, you know, like I think it just needs more
So for
time
you,
to
it's
grow
more
on.
a kayfabe thing.
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit. I really don't like the look of it, honestly. So it's a little of that too. But you know, that's just me. You can't please
Well, I mean,
everybody.
think about it as like an even more kind of devastating version of the Bella Buster, because it really is just a basic face buster, but she does it in a way where she's dropping them from much higher up.
So it's like an elevated kind of thing. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can certainly appreciate that.
I mean,
Like I
shit,
said,
man, the Bella Buster worked for how many years? And even if you go back to Sean Waltman, the freaking X
X
Factor,
Factor.
same
Yeah.
deal. So yeah, like if the X Factor and the Bella Buster can be a finisher, I see no reason why Bianca's reverse power bomb doesn't look even better. Like to me, that really is what it is. It's just a higher elevation face buster to akin to like the X Factor or the Bella Buster.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I just think for me, you know, it really is a nitpick, and you can't please everybody. And if it's working for Bianca Belair, then that's really what should be the focus right now. Because it really is just about her development being the best performer she can be.
And the thing
Really,
is, what really to me is the coolest thing is that like she's athletic and everything, but she's also, I mean, she calls herself the EST for a reason. We saw the NXT combine results a few months ago. She's not just the most athletic, she's also the strongest female on the roster. So I could see her doing that shit to Nia.
right. Yeah, that see now
How
that
huge would that be,
that
right?
would be a crazy fucking visual. Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm sure in time I'll be like, oh yeah, it's great. But again, even if that time never comes, you
I
can't.
mean, don't get me wrong, it could be cooler. Like to me, if you're gonna get her up in that powerbomb position, I would love nothing more than for her to use her own version of like Project Champa, where she drops her opponent onto her own knees or something like that.
I
But
think you know what I think my problem is. It's not a kayfabe thing, and going back to the look. I mean, for me, and again, I don't know if she'll ever change it or not. You know, whatever. But I'd love more of a snap, like an alley oop kind of thing, where it's like up and over, just in like one fluid motion. Whereas I feel like it's always a delay because first they get him up in the power bomb, then they lift him up, then they slam him down, which is fine. But like, I don't know, it was more of like an alley-oop thing, like, oh, power bomb, oh, and then into this, just like one fluid thing. I think that'd be a lot cooler.
So
But
it's
you know,
clunky. It's clunky for you.
yeah, a little bit, a little
Yeah,
bit.
well, that's fair. That's a fair criticism. Yeah,
Um,
because
but
it's
but
almost like I hate to even say this because I would hate to assume that any professional would be trying to emulate a video game of their profession, but it really does kind of seem like she is trying to do the exact animation that that move would have in WWE 2K games.
yeah, yeah, but you know what though? I think you really do make a fair point about Nia because even if that like was the setup because she's so massive, like that would be like just such a fucking pop moment. And I feel like yeah, if they ever wanted to give Bianca a face run, that's like the crescendo of it right there. Just let her do something like that to somebody big like Nia because Jesus fucking Christ. So yeah, again, all the promise in the world just needs more polish and she's in the right place to do it. I just hope that they realize that because that's really the issue I have. So yeah, solid matchup. Love the hair whip spot. You know, it's that is something that's definitely starting to grow on me for sure. I'm really loving that she's incorporating that. That's like a definitive part of her gimmick. Good stuff here for Bianca Belair. Let's move on. What came after this?
We got a Percy Watson sit down interview with Shayna Baszler and Ember Moon. And for me, if you kind of block out the main event, this was the best segment on this show. I loved this. I thought I was like, to me, I've already talked about how I don't think Ember Moon is very good on the mic, and that kind of showed here as well. But Shayna Baszler, holy shit, that girl can talk.
Dude, you know that I am like an avid like Ember supporter and this and that, but I've always made concessions for her shortcomings. And I've got to do it again here. Like, I got to be honest, like, Shayna's side was fantastic. Like, I completely agree with you. I loved how her line about how you've got to stir up the waters if you expect to catch any fish. And
Yeah.
like, Ember's the big fish, right? Like, I love that. Ember, though, like, oh, God, girl, I love you, but I've got to say it because I can't lie. There was some real fire missing from her tonight. Like, Shayna Baszler to me, this is just how I perceive things, and maybe I'm just off. Shayna Baszler to me is this big bad, right? Like this woman you do not want to fuck with. And she has actively injured people and she's taken them out. Where's the anger? Like, I know Ember Moon, like, she's like, oh, Shayna, you can't do this. We have a code, we have this. And like, it's not what she's saying, because that's fine, but it's how she's saying them.
Well,
I just,
yeah, like it
yeah.
legitimately, and I know that we've already talked about her being a weeb before. She really does sound like she's trying to cut an anime style promo. Like she is like freaking Naruto with one of his weapons getting ready to slice someone down. And even then, I feel like Naruto probably showed more goddamn fire during it.
Yeah, dude, as somebody that's watched the anime extensively, I can tell you, yeah.
But like it just reminds me of like Goku when he's talking to like Majin Buu or something. Like, no, you can't be allowed to continue this destruction. I'm gonna stop you. That's exactly what Ember's doing.
Yeah, and it's just like that would be fine, but I don't know, man. Like I'm just looking at this and I'm like, here is this woman that is legitimately looking poised to take your championship and not give a single thought because her mind's
Yeah.
in the right place and she's got the capabilities to match. And like you don't seem angry, you don't seem fired up because let's keep in mind
I mean,
too.
you could definitely tell that she was angry, if nothing else, based on her facial expressions. She did a really good job of emoting her anger, but
That I will, yeah.
you couldn't hear it in her voice at all.
And see, that's my problem. I will give you the body language. I think that's a great point. I will definitely give that to you. But
And
it's
I think
just
she's one of those types too, where if you would tell her that she doesn't sound angry, that she would just resort to yelling. And I don't want that either.
yeah, God, it's such a difficult spot because this is a babyface that, like, on paper had this really like arduous story to the title because she couldn't beat Asuka and it was time after time.
Yeah.
Well, she finally wins it in her hometown. Like, it was a struggle, right? A genuine struggle for Ember Moon. And here is this woman who has only, as far as NXT, not counting the NYC, NXT had one match that ended in ref stoppage. Her second match is for the championship. Like, where's the outrage? You know, like I struggled, I busted my ass for that. And especially like if Shayna takes it from her, I would really hope that we'd see anger from Ember then. But I gotta be honest, like I kind of fear that it would be something of like John Cena from his early years where either she shrugs it off or worse, we get that whole like thing that we did when Asuka beat her the first time. And it's like, oh, it was supposed to be my destiny, my moment. And she's almost like, it's
She
almost
goes
like a
emo.
lamentation. She was emo. It's more like a lamentation rather than fury. I
Right.
want fury, damn it. Like, because here's the thing, too. And not to get into kayfabe stuff, because I know we're usually divorced from that, but like, what else is going to beat Shayna Baszler but fury? Because I guarantee you what you're bringing right now isn't going to do it. She's going to eat you alive. Like, I
Yeah.
need to believe that Ember Moon can beat Shayna Baszler. And for me as a viewer, now I'm not going to speak for you, but for me, seeing this Ember Moon tonight, she didn't convince me that she can beat Shayna Baszler. If anything,
No.
Shayna Baszler, with how she talked and where her mind is, I'm like, oh yeah, that title's coming home. Like, geez.
Yeah, well, and then also with Ember, you said she didn't convince you that she could beat Shayna. It seemed to me almost like she was more interested in trying to convince herself that she could, because it really did not seem like she was ready for what Shayna was bringing to the table here.
God, now see, what a fascinating story that would be. Like, oh man, God. But I do. You know what? We always like to end on a positive note. Shayna was fantastic here, and you know what? That just makes me love her again, even more than Brock, because Brock's always had Heyman, and I feel like every time he talks, it's more comedic than anything. Shayna in sound bites. I don't know how she'd be on an extended promo, but like in this thing here, in this
Shayna doesn't
step-up,
have the pterodactyl scream, though. We got to give that to Brock.
that is true. That is true. But yeah, I loved how Shayna carried herself. She was believable. And I love that. You know, it's not even so much like,
Dude,
oh,
I'm
how
so excited for our NXT Takeover Philadelphia preview and predictions tomorrow. That's going to be so good.
oh, dude, I am so fucking hyped for it. Like, it's taking everything in me to just not do it right now, because this takeover card on paper is looking so fucking promising, both from a match perspective and a narrative perspective. Like, it really is coming together, and this is just another feud that's kind of a testament to that, because man, Shayna is game for this shit, and I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Not more you could say than that. I mean, Ember, I don't even know. Like, I say I'm a fan of hers. I'm even starting to question that now. Like is this really the best you can do? Because, like, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just spoiled, but I feel like in this day and age, yeah, it kind of reminds me of I told you recently that I watched the double toaster review of the movie The Post with Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks.
And Tom
And
Hanks,
like
yeah.
and like everybody and like they said something that I'm gonna apply here. And they said, like, we know Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks, we know they're great. Like, that's obvious. What else you got? Because everybody's great today. And that's the thing. Like, Ember can put on a great match. Great. So can a lot of people today. Like, WWE's chock full of
Yeah, see, but I
perfect
will disagree with you on that point, because I do feel like Ember is in the top 3 in ring in NXT. And to me, there is a pretty significant separation between those top, because like in the ring, to me in NXT, it is Ember, Nikki, and Peyton, and there is a
right.
pretty sizable gap between those 3 and the rest of the NXT women's roster. And I would honestly put all 3 of them in like the top 10 of the WWE umbrella as a whole as well, with Nikki being the worst of the 3, and I can still acknowledge that she's damn good in the ring.
But see, I think my broader point is because, you know, NXT, as much as it probably wishes at times, you know, it's not in a vacuum. You know, there is Lucha Underground, there is New Japan, there is all
Right.
this stuff. And
Yeah.
like great wrestling. And you and I, we pride ourselves, right, on being you know, feminists in the sense of like gender equality. We appraise the men and the women equally. So really, when I say you could see great wrestling everywhere, that is a gender neutral statement, because I'm not trying to parcel them out from everybody else, and I know you're not either. So even if
You know
a
what, though? I will say this. I'm not trying to, but the WWE does, and that kind of
right,
forces you to think that way. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
and that's fair. I just think for me, I stand by my original point. It's that yes, I can even agree with your assessment of what tier Ember is at in ring wise, but you can only use up that rope for so long.
And honestly, you would be hard pressed to find anyone in NXT in the ring better than her. Because, like I said, she, Peyton, and Nikki are the tier 1 girls, and I would probably put her at the top of that tier. I would put her at number 1. It's close between her and Peyton, but I do think Ember is a better in-ring storyteller than Peyton Royce, even if Peyton might be more technically sound than Ember. So really, it's not just a matter of, yeah, she's good in the ring. It's a matter of, no, she's the best. Like, she's basically Bailey. Like, she literally, like, her positives and her negatives are pretty much the exact same as Bailey. She
Yeah,
positives of Bailey and that she's a great in-ring storyteller. She's a great ring wrestler. She's got the technical side down, and she's got the facial expressions pretty well too. But then the negatives, the same as Bailey, can't talk.
and see where I feel like,
Although
you
I
know,
will say, Another thing Ember does have over Bailey that she has that's a big difference is a bomb ass finisher. Bailey's finisher is lame.
Yeah, yeah, I will agree with you on all those points. I think what concerns me ultimately, and where Bailey did have the biggest deviation, her gimmick was so relatable, at least in the context of NXT, because we've already talked about to death how the main roster just fucking ruined her. In NXT, she was the fan living the dream, and that's the most relatable gimmick you can have in the context of pro wrestling. With Ember, like we were even talking recently, like we don't even really know what the gimmick is. Like, who
Yeah,
are
Ember's
you?
like supposed to be kind of like this supernatural character, but there's nothing supernatural about her, really.
Exactly, right? So when you have this
So really what it
nebulous,
comes down to is she's cosplaying.
yeah, and see, that's my problem, man, because when you have a nebulous kind of gimmick that's hard to pin down, and again, I agree with you about the in-ring and all that. I've said that myself. I know a lot of people in our chat have, but what I'm saying is you can only use that rope for so long. And when I'm seeing somebody like Shayna that has a presence that, I'm sorry, to me, Ember kind of lacks, because again, there's nothing supernatural about the gimmick. You're gonna be overtaken here. And I do even kind of worry when she goes to the main roster. Like, unless you have some kind of an evolution, or you go to the drawing board, or you do something, you can have a great match. So can Becky Lynch. So can Sasha Banks. So can Asuka. What else do you have? How do you distinguish yourself from your peers? And like, I still support Ember Moon, but I really am starting to get concerned, because even like this thing here, where she's facing a legitimate big bad, and it should be this huge thing. Like, I can't believe I'm saying this, because I never really gave him enough credit, like for that work. But Sami Zayn, right, when he was facing Kevin Owens. Now, obviously, they have like that relationship and this and that, but like, he knew what a threat Kevin Owens was. And like, Sammy made me believe it every time, and he showed that fire so fucking well. Because I even remember when he was like, "Do you want to see me kick Kevin Owens' ass?" And like the conviction. I don't get that from Ember here. Maybe you know what? If she, does lose in Philly, which again we're gonna go all into that tomorrow, maybe the rematch would have more of that. But for this, I just really felt wanting in that. And yeah, I just really hope Ember can step her game up in the future, because I'm really starting to get a little concerned. But that's all I have to say about that without getting redundant. Unless there's anything you want to add, we can move on.
Let's move on then. Up next, we got our part two of Who Are TM61. And this was a little bit less silly, a little bit more kind of grounded, and really let's just get to know these guys and what's going on in their minds. They brought up the first part of it was kind of goofy because they said about, oh, is it a missile? No, it's a Pokemon thing, and everyone thinks it's a Pokemon thing or whatever. Um, but yeah, Shane does kind of dive into the discussion on his knee injury. It was he basically talked about how he had a match with Roderick Strong leading up to the Dusty Classic, and he did a double stomp on him, but his left foot hit the mat first, and that tweaked his knee. And then he was pretty much dealing with that injury throughout the entire Dusty Classic. And then he even mentions how, the jump off the scaffolding wasn't really as much a jump as it was just falling with style. And then he also does discuss the match with the Revival where they isolated his knee and they did the leg break kind of submission double stomp that they did to Big Cass as well. Um, he basically says that that was the straw that broke the camel's back as far as his knee goes. And they said that it would be 5 to 7 months of recovery. And we also, before this ended, we got a little bit of a surprise appearance from Harley Race, basically just saying, watch out for TM61. These guys are on the rise. These guys can go, that kind of thing. And we also find out that they will be returning to the ring next week.
Yeah, very excited for that. Very excited for that. Again, I feel like this was great table setting before their return by NXT. I love the joking bit. It's actually a missile. You ever hear anybody talk about that? No, it's just, I love it. These guys are so likable. They have great personalities for this. But then when they're serious, and they talk about how the injury affected them as a team, and, the fans don't really know what they can do. And what does it even mean? The mighty don't kneel. What does that mean to them? Like, it was so great. I love when NXT does this for the performers. You can tell they really want to invest in, particularly the baby faces. And it just gets me so excited for TM61, because if, everything goes well, which you always got to put that in wrestling, because, things can shake up moment to moment. We've certainly learned that these days. I think this could really be their year where they do challenge for the NXT Tag Team Championships, if not even win them. And that's really exciting because I'll tell you, I feel like the best match they had before they went off the grid was that Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic match against Authors of Pain. I feel like they were starting to get into a groove a little bit. And then the injury, it'll be really great to see them get back to basics and make that ascent to the championship. I'm a fan, man. I'm definitely going to be rooting for them the entire time.
Yeah, I've been a fan of TM61 since before I knew they had personalities.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've loved these guys pretty much the whole time they've been in NXT, and now they're getting this spotlight. And I'll tell you what, Draven G did say in chat something that got me really excited. Assuming Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly retain, which I'm not sure if I'm even going to predict that. We'll see at our preview predictions tomorrow. But if they do, Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, Red Dragon versus TM61 in New Orleans is the match to have.
Oh, fuck yes. Because if you want to get anywhere close to DIY versus Revival Caliber Wrestling, that's the tag team championship match you have on your card. And to me,
just knowing that, though, they might decide to save that for Brooklyn 4.
They may. They may. I mean, it really depends on what story they want to tell. Because that's the great thing, too, about TM61, returning and stuff. Because you've got so many great tag team stories you can get out of them. Obviously, the championship chase, which is a standard built-in story for any tag team you're invested in. Authors of Pain, I know you came up with that story. They never resolved it. We get closer and closer to beating them every time. Can we finally beat them?
Well, shit, man. Who are going for the titles on Sunday?
Authors of Pain, but I mean,
what if they put the titles back on them just for that story, just for the sake of that story?
Yeah, and then you get 2 stories in one. Whenever they get called up to the main roster, they can square their beef with the Revival for kayfabe taking them out.
Yes, I want it all.
Yeah, that TM61 is in a unique position that because of their tragedy, they've opened up like a lot of stories for themselves as a team, which means a lot of mileage, which I think is just great for them and for us long term. Yeah,
please don't get hurt again.
Beg pardon?
I said, please don't get hurt again.
Yeah, please don't get hurt again. I worry about that with so many acts in wrestling. Like, stay healthy, have the run, win the goddamn belts, and then just have that run too. I really want these guys to succeed, man. I really do. That Inside Look did, great things for them, I think. Really excited about them. And that's all I can say about that. So I guess we can move on.
All righty, let's get going to the next segment then. Authors of Pain come out for a match with Chase Brown and Damian Smith. How impressed are you that I actually got those guys' names?
That's actually very impressive because I didn't even register who they were. I'm like Jobber 1 and Jobber 2. So,
and the match never even starts, though. That's the thing. So these pretty much just destroy these guys. They deliver. God, I don't even remember what the first move that they did was, but then they cut a promo on the Undisputed Era, and then after they're done with their promo, they do the Super Collider. So,
yeah, it was the Death Valley drivers in the corner.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I got you, fam.
So do you want to talk about the promo, or do you want to actually touch on anything else?
Not really. I mean, the promo was kind of a nothing promo, just pretty much saying like Undisputed Era, like what we just did in here. It's going to be your turn at TakeOver Philadelphia.
Akam was actually kind of decent on the mic a little bit.
Yeah, I was digging the intensity. Again, when you look like that, that is where the believability comes from. And yeah, I mean, they are menacing. They've been a dominant tag team. Have they no, I know Sanity beat them, obviously, so they've eaten the pin, but they're so well protected that they're a team that honestly, even if it is Red Dragon, you believe that they could reclaim the titles at any point, which again, is why that conversation is going to be so worthwhile tomorrow that we have about the tag team titles. Because I really see the division, I don't know, its future is kind of interesting to me. And it'll be even more interesting depending on where they go with this match between Red Dragon and AOP. AOP seems confident, and yeah, that's all I can say about that. Should be a very interesting affair come TakeOver Philadelphia.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Well, we find out next that we are going to be getting Nikki Cross versus Lacey Evans next week, which I don't believe John and I are going to be reviewing that show, just because I think we're actually going to reduce the number of weeks that we don't review NXT after a TakeOver from 4 down to 3. So we should be back 4 weeks after TakeOver, but we're still going to not worry about touching on it for the first 3 weeks after TakeOver, just because they are always just kind of spinning their wheels during that time. But then we get to our main event of the evening, Johnny Gargano versus Velveteen Dream. Match of the night, match of the year so far for WWE. What more can I say?
Yeah, I mean, dude, I know you adore both of these guys. What were some of your favorite moments in the match?
Dude, you know how much I love Johnny Gargano, and I think everyone does based on my year-end awards that I gave him. But, dude, Velveteen Dream's a fucking star.
Dude, I goddamn, dude. like,
I'm telling you, like Gargano's the most beloved babyface in NXT by far, and I would argue he's the most beloved babyface in NXT since Balor, or maybe even going back to Zayn. And like this match starts with like a 3-minute dueling chant, Johnny Wrestling, Velveteen, and it's loud on both sides.
it is, dude. Like, dude, I gotta give credit to
Dude.
Patrick Clark, aka Velveteen Dream here, because if I was him, it would take everything in me to not squee with pure joy that I fucking made it. Like that I have a gimmick that is so beloved by people and is getting over and is getting pushed. And like,
I mean, the only thing is like you can't celebrate yet because if you get to the main roster and Vince decides you're Adam Rose, you're fucked.
And I really do fear that. That is a legitimate fear. Like, I feel like it's one of those gimmicks that Vince would see and he'd say, okay, well, that's easy. We put him in gag segments with Goldust.
Yep.
Like maybe they'd even be like a short-term tag team. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
he's so much better than that. No disrespect to Goldust, but seriously, like he's so much better than that. And this match was so good. I mean, I love like even just the littler moments because we can always talk about the big moments of like the comeback and this and that of like Velveteen Dream stepping on Gargano's head, using the ropes for leverage. You're gonna take my spot. You don't deserve my spot. And the trash talk and all of that was just so good. Like, oh, I'm so glad Velveteen Dream's back because I was really worried after his match with Aleister Black, and then when he was injured, that, oh man, this isn't the time to get injured. It's never a good time to get injured, but this especially isn't a time to get injured because you have all this momentum and you want to capitalize on it. And I feel like coming back with this match, with this kind of little mini story of, you wouldn't have won if I was around. He hasn't missed a beat now. Like he's right back in it. And because Gargano, I'm not worried about. Like, he's in the championship picture. I wanted Velveteen to kind of reestablish himself. This was the match to do it. And once again, hats off to Johnny Gargano for being just the best fucking babyface, selling everything and the body language and everything else, making dreams.
And you know what, too? He even had some babyface fire in this match that I did not expect from him because he fired up at some points that, like, you could tell that he was just getting, like, angry and pissed that people kept underestimating him and thinking that he didn't get where he is because he deserves it, and he lucked into it.
Yeah, dude, I'm loving this story. Again, it's like it's Pro Wrestling 101 in a way, but you've got it's one of those unique stories at the same time that where you need the right babyface. Because the wrong babyface, and it is going to fall flat on its face, and they're going to laugh at you for it, and then maybe even worse, given some crowds. But Johnny Gargano is the perfect babyface for a story like this, and he is pulling it off flawlessly. I mean, I really cannot praise.
But the thing is, too, honestly, I'm glad that this match was the match that happened on the pre-takeover episode of NXT. Because if this match would have happened in Philly, I think they would have been even more behind Dream.
I have to agree. I have to agree. Like Gargano definitely had the home field advantage here towards the end because he sucks you in. I thought, and I got to give Gargano credit for something else too, because not every babyface is good at this, and this is a talent I've learned to appreciate more from certain babyfaces. When Velveteen Dream got the Avalanche Death Valley Driver, which Morrow's commentary on that was just fantastic, by the way. Johnny Gargano's near fall was perfect. Like he just shot his shoulder off at the last second. I feel like sometimes babyfaces aren't too good at that. Like maybe they'll kick out too soon or they don't milk it enough.
Or the worst thing that anyone does is when like you can see them getting ready to kick out before they do.
Yes.
Like they're putting their hands on their opponent or get ready to shove them away.
Yeah.
Do you know who does that more than anyone?
I want to say Roman Reigns, but probably not. Maybe I'm projecting.
No.
Who does that?
John Cena. But here's where there's a little bit of a conundrum there. He does that more than anyone else, but he also, because of that, his near falls are so much more effective than two.
Yeah.
Because when he doesn't do that, it really makes you buy like, oh my god, he's not kicking out. And then when he does, it's like, oh my god.
Exactly. And with Gargano, just the way he shot the shoulder up at the last perceptible second, just so perfect. Like, again, dude, you know my style when we go into it. Well, I may not be the biggest fan of a guy, or maybe less of a fan than you are. I'll always give them their due. And that's the case with Gargano. Like, obviously, I've got the horse that I'm backing come Philadelphia, but that doesn't mean that Gargano doesn't deserve to be a horse in the race, period. Those are two completely different things. And this guy is as legit as they come. This is a guy that you build a brand around. This is a guy that you go to just your most effective babyface stories for, because he can pull them off every time. And this is a guy, whenever you're really serious about making a heel, this is the guy you call. He can do anything. He can absolutely do anything. And Velveteen Dream, just to heap a little bit more praise on him, to be this young and this good. I mean, brother, can you make the rest of us not look like shit for like 2 seconds, please? Like,
no,
Jesus Christ.
He will not. He's too good.
He is. He is too good. And he's like, Velveteen Dream doesn't remember that he said he'd slow down for you. Velveteen Dream thinks that you can eat his shit. And I'm like, well, you know what?
DREAM is.
And then I'm just like, you know what? Maybe I will, all right? What of it? And then I just walk off picking up the broken pieces of my pride. Gargano wins with the Gargano escape.
Dude, I know he won with the Gargano escape, but I love the build up to that point. Because if you remember the very beginning of the match when we were getting the crazy dueling chants, Johnny Wrestling Velveteen Dream did a pose. And it shut the crowd up and made him cheer for him, like just clapping rather than chanting. And then he got down on one knee and he points to Gargano. And he says to Gargano about how you're not ready for TakeOver. And Johnny grabs his hand and locks in the Gargano escape that early in the match. And there were points throughout the match that he continued to focus on the shoulder. He did a cannonball to the outside where he landed on Velveteen's shoulder. He did an arm wrench facebuster that was kind of like a DDT, but Dream landed face and shoulder first. He worked over the shoulder selectively throughout the whole match. And then he won with Gargano escape. I love this man.
Can I say, too, maybe I'm like overreading it. I love that the setup to the final one to get the job done was his half of PCS.
Yeah, like, the super kick. Yep.
Because to me, right, like what that says is, like, he is doing it on his own. He's his own man. He's carrying his own weight. He knows Ciampa isn't going to be there with his knee, metaphorically speaking.
Yep.
Like, nobody's backing him up but him. And like, I love that.
Dude, I even had like a little bit of a theory on if Gargano and Ciampa were going to have any kind of like a moment on TakeOver, but I don't want to say what it was until we get to our preview predictions. Cause I really I got to brush away the goosebumps right now just thinking about it. But I think everyone's expecting Ciampa to like come in and beat the shit out of Gargano either during or after the match. I think they're going to do it in a more subtle way if they do it at all. And I can't wait to talk about it.
Oh, brother, you're promoting preview predictions to even me now. God damn it. I'm a part of it. Fuck.
Yeah. He's a part of it, people. He's a part of it.
But, hey, we talked about your boy, but let's talk about mine now, because as Gargano is celebrating, out comes Almas. And even you have to admit, brother, Almas looks classy as fuck with that NXT championship.
Yeah, he looked sharp as hell.
Dude, like... God damn, man.
He's so sharp, he makes sharper image look dull.
I know. Damn, look at you. But no, dude, in all seriousness, I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Like, this was the Almas I've always wanted. And like, it does kind of...
AKA, this is Naito Almas.
Yes. And it kind of hurts that I may have to be saying goodbye to it so soon on Saturday, but I'm not going to commit one way or the other. That's tomorrow. But man, is it great to see in the moment. Is it great to see in the moment him just with that NXT championship with Zelina, who is fucking legit, which I'm so thankful for that too, because she could have been a dud, but no, she actually really enhances the gimmick, and they're coming out and they're laughing at Johnny like, oh, look at this joke. And I love, see, because this story, and Gargano's carrying the weight of the story. I will never deny that. But
well, Gargano and Zelina are. I mean, Almas, his job is to just put on the great match, which he's going to do on Saturday. But Almas hasn't really done much talking. The talking has all been done by Gargano and Zelina with an assist from Velveteen Dream.
And I do agree. And yeah, Zelina absolutely deserves her share of the credit on the heel side. But I love, because Andrade isn't really known for his talking. We talked about body language earlier with Ember. Andrade straight up turns his back to Gargano. I love that. I love that. Not only does he turn his back, he smirks at Zelina while he's handing her his championship. And, of course, he's getting ready for the ambush, which we'll get to in a second. But I just love that little sequence because it's like, this guy is so beneath me. He's so not ready for me that I can turn my back, hand you my championship. Hell, I'm surprised he didn't like unbutton his suit because I know I'm better than he is.
You know what though, John? Here's my thing. I agree with you that him turning his back says a certain something, but if you think about it, why did he come out there and decide to beat down Gargano if he wasn't at least a little bit threatened by him?
And that's the brilliance of the subtleties of heel psychology, right? Because just by that action, you're betraying yourself. You're signaling this guy is a threat to my world title. I've got to snuff the threat out. And it's so good. And then,
there's a lot of Triple H in the Almas character right now, honestly.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I was even watching some old Triple H stuff today. And when I say old, I mean 2004 and stuff. My time period.
Yeah, like Ruthless Aggression Triple H.
Yeah.
The reign of terror Triple H.
Yeah. Oh, good God! Thank goodness those days are over. But and I definitely agree.
Apparently, Triple H is going to get another title run sometime in the next year or so.
It wouldn't surprise me. But and they do another interesting thing here, where at first, okay, Gargano averts the assault, he's fighting back, but then, almost he's got the alternating jabs, and he throws Gargano out, and I'm like, okay, so this is going to end, almost standing tall, final promotional bit. But no, you've got Gargano pulling himself up with the ropes, and Almas's face just contorts into one of sheer disgust. Like, are you kidding me that I still have to deal with this? And then I'm thinking, okay, he's going to hit Gargano with the championship and again, still stand tall. No, Gargano gets a Gamengiri, gets a DDT, slingshot DDT to Almas, and the crowd is going fucking nuts. And there's the championship, lying, away from Almas. Almas is down. Zelina's freaking out. It's like, what are you doing? Get up. Because, she's shocked.
Dude, Zelina here was freaking gold. She is, the MVP of NXT over the last year. She was great here. The way that she was like, you better not touch that. You better not touch it.
Yeah, dude, this was fucking fantastic. Because, yeah, she's screaming, don't you touch it. That's not your, I'm not even going to try and scream because it would be so bad on here. But, yeah, she's screaming, don't you touch it. That's not yours. And he finally does, and he's looking at it, and the longing and the desire on his face are just palpable, and
the crowd reaction too.
Dude, they were already
dude, as soon as he picked it up, they lost their minds. But when he held it up, my God.
Oh, when they held it up, they exploded. When he was holding it, though, I actually liked for once that they said, you deserve it, because traditionally that's been after the guy's gotten the moment, but it's almost as if they're saying, because of the storyline, right, of this doubt, no, Johnny, you deserve to be champion. You can be champion. And
is that the first time we've ever gotten you deserve it chance for a challenger holding up a title?
I believe it is.
I think it is. Yeah, that's
that to me is huge. That to me is huge, given the context of the story of, oh, Gargano, you can't do it. You're not ready. You're undeserving. And the people.
You know what that kind of reminds me of, though, John?
What's that?
Story that they told with Ember Moon leading up to her victory at NXT TakeOver, or whatever the last one was. War Game.
Yeah, that is true.
Mercedes Martinez played the role of Velveteen Dream in that feud.
Yeah. And then Ember roared back, and she proved everybody wrong. But, this is just so well done. I mean, to me, this is an early candidate for, story of the year 2018. Because, I mean, just the execution's been so well done. And, yeah, I love that they chanted, you deserve it, when he hasn't won the title yet. Because, again, it's the people, the people that Gargano should be concerning himself with. The everyman. Affirming to Gargano, you deserve to be here. You can be here. And yeah, that's perfect. That's the response you want. And he got it. And I do love at the same time, right, that with Gargano standing tall, and again, that's not saying one thing or the other, because, that's preview and predictions, but Gargano standing tall does play in your mind. Okay, well, can he do it again on Saturday? Or is Almas going to go 3-0 in their individual matches? Because, you know, and I have plenty more to say about that, and I'll save it for then. But yeah, this segment was absolutely fantastic. I love that it subverted my expectations and actually gave Gargano the moment over Almas, because I think he needed to have that moment over Almas because they're the biggest critics, you know, and like he just shut them up. So yeah, this was great, dude. I love this.
Absolutely. This was just transcendent to me. This was so good. Like, you could show this segment to literally anybody, wrestling fan or not, from the match to the post match to Gargano holding the title up. And really, I think that that could connect with anybody, whether they're a wrestling fan or they watch NXT or not. I think that that's the kind of moment that you really can get to connect with just about anyone. And really, not just the moment, but even the Gargano Dream match, the way that Gargano was kind of subtly working Dream's shoulder throughout the whole match, and then he won with Gargano Escape, and the story that they told throughout that. And then, of course, like I said, the post match, all of that stuff to me connects with anyone, with, you know, the hardest of hardcore wrestling fans, the casual fans, even the non-fans, I think would find that compelling.
Brother, I couldn't have said it any better. With that said, can we move on to our next segment?
Let's go.
All right. High spots and low shots. You know what? I'm going to say that my low shot is Velveteen Dream. You know, I mean, he challenged for the number one contendership, unlike the rest of the guys that just got done vying for it and Gargano ultimately winning. Velveteen Dream only had to win one match, and that was against the guy that he said, like, you're not good enough for the spot. You took my spot, this and that. And yep. Gargano proved him wrong. So rough night for Velveteen Dream, but I am so happy to see him back. And much like Bianca Belair and a few other acts, like Velveteen Dream's 2018 is fascinating to me. I can't wait to see what they do with him.
Yeah, absolutely. And another point that I even wanted to bring up, when Velveteen Dream went for the Purple Rainmaker, what did he sell? The shoulder, the arm. He had a problem with it, and he fell on Johnny's knees. So that was further damage to that same shoulder and elbow. Like, the storytelling in that match was absolutely impeccable. But my low shot, and it's funny because it's actually surprising to me that you picked Dream as your low shot just because of how great of a performance he had tonight. Like, I have a hard time giving a low shot to someone that has that good of a performance, especially when it's not like this established star that you expected to win the match and lost, but it's like an up and comer who you knew probably wasn't going to win. Like, I can't give my low shot to that. So even if you wouldn't have picked him, if you would have gone like full scum squad and just been like, oh, my low shot, the two jobbers that destroyed by AOP, I wouldn't have picked Dream just because I feel like his performance was so good that I can't. And like, he's closer to a high spot to me than a low shot.
And that's fair. That's fair. So who is your low shot?
Yeah, my low shot tonight has to be Ember Moon because she looked scared in that interview to me. She looked like she was trying to kind of show anger, and she looked like she might have been kind of angry, but she looked like somebody that was not prepared for what she was about to have to deal with in Shayna Baszler.
Can't argue with that. All right, my high spot, as you guys know, my honorary high spot always goes to commentary. Again, they were on point. You know, Nigel McGuinness and Mauro Ranallo especially, just fantastic. My actual high spot, you know something? No, I think I did that last week, so I don't want to do that again. My high spot, you know what? Because it was great to see him, and I felt good. No Way Jose. It might have been a nothing match, but I'm really hoping that this is the beginning of him having a productive 2018. Him and Velveteen Dream, I think, are two male acts that I'm really keeping a close eye on because I just see the world in both of them, albeit that they're at very different points. Like, I think Velveteen Dream is far ahead right now, and that's crazy because No Way Jose has been around for quite a bit longer, or at least so it feels like. But it is good to see him. Got a win over Cesar Bononi, and we'll see what No Way Jose can do with it. Let the fiesta commence. Who's your high spot?
I mean, I feel like this was kind of a layup that you basically handed to me. Johnny Gargano.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm kind of surprised that we didn't both pick him, just because I feel like if any night was going to be a unanimous high spot for him, it would have been tonight. But yeah, Gargano, not only did he have a freaking awesome match, and to me, it really was the match of the year 2018 so far through 24 days in the WWE. I won't put it above, a Wrestle Kingdom match or two, maybe, but it was great. And honestly, I might even put it above a Wrestle Kingdom match or two. But yeah, this was just a freaking excellent match. And the post match was great. And Gargano got the upper hand pretty much the entire night. He looked weak at points, but every single interaction that he had, he came out on top of. So whether you see that as an omen and a sign that he is going into the show with too much momentum and that he's going to not be able to keep himself up at that level for the match and end up losing and not winning the title, then that's one thing. But as of right now, he's on top of the freaking world. And if this is the highest he ever gets, this is still pretty damn high for him to get. So big props to Johnny Gargano. Great night tonight. And here's the crazy thing, John. Adam Cole was on NXT again tonight. Even if it wasn't newly produced content, we got to get a recap of him screwing over Aleister Black and cutting a promo. So he's my real high spot. Johnny Gargano gets the honorable mention.
Well, I know like that the Adam Cole thing has been a running stick for you for a while, but I'm honestly surprised it stands even with Gargano in the mix because I know how much.
Listen, John, you need to understand. It's Adam Cole.
You're right. You're right. No, you're absolutely right. I love it. But no, dude, in all seriousness, as far as the Gargano explanation stuff, I totally get where you're coming from. Guy's cooking on every cylinder right now.
Cooking with fire, baby. Cooking with fire.
Absolutely. Take
That's
over.
what we're going to be doing in about 25 minutes when you finish your outro when we start playing Rocket League.
I know, right? But no, Takeover Philadelphia is looking fucking stacked. And I'm really looking forward to it. I am so looking forward to preview predictions tomorrow, guys. You better be here for how many times we've mentioned preview predictions. If it was a drinking game, your livers would be begging for mercy right now.
Yeah, and remember to leave a like on the video, too. We've got 11 live viewers, only 3 likes. So remember to leave that like, people.
Absolutely. So, guys, with that said, this has been NXT. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my co-worker and commentary Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment, subscribe, and like the video. The more likes you leave, the more likely we are to be the top search result for NXT reviews on YouTube. And when you're the best at what you do, the top is the only place that you belong. So please leave that like. Guys, everything that TWitWoW is associated with is in the description box. I assure you to survey all of it. Our Twitters, our Facebook. Everything is in there. Check it all out. 2 things I always like to plug, of course, the Teespring. Our newest line of merch is the Tranquilo shirt that Ashton made. So if you're an Andrade fan or a Naito fan or what have you, that's the shirt you're going to want to have. Or even if you just believe in the philosophy of Tranquilo, that's the shirt for you. We also have the Braun Strowman, I'm not finished with you t-shirt. And, Emma's the real face of the women's revolution. A lot of great offerings there, guys. Check it all out in the Teespring. The Patreon, we have been loving Progress Live Reactions. Chapter 4 that we just got done this past Tuesday, the Ballad of El Ligero, was just phenomenal. I know that you guys that join us for those have been loving them as well. Keep them going. January was successful. February might be a different story. If you're scared about losing Progress Live Reactions when we really just started to get the momentum under our feet here, you can help by contributing $3 to the Patreon. That'll get you Discord access for the month. And Discord, I think, is the best experience that we offer our fans. It's when you get to talk to Ashton and myself, as well as the most hardcore TWitWoW fans about pretty much everything under the sun. And I know we do Raw and SmackDown together. That's always fun. I got to mark out over Chad Gable this past Tuesday with my friends in the Discord. It was a really fun time. You guys are definitely going to want to be a part of that. So please consider donating to the Patreon. Plus, as I always like to mention, you have Discord membership. And if you sustain that membership for X amount of months, you can cash in those chips for content control. So say, for example, at a $3 price point, you're a member of the Discord for 10 months. That's $30. You can cash that in for a 3-hour live reaction. And, I think that's huge. Content control, there's no greater power. So, yeah, please do consider donating to our Patreon. We greatly appreciate all donations. To everybody that has donated to make us do Progress Live Reactions in January, thank you. And I hope we can expect your continued support in February because Progress has just been fucking phenomenal. All right, guys, here's what I'm going to do here because, as you know, next 8 to 9 days is going to be absolutely insane. Because I know time is money. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to urge everybody, go to Ashton's pinned tweet.
Would you like me to go over our schedule?
If you wouldn't mind, yeah, because I know I'm bound to forget stuff, and you're better at that than me. If that's what you would prefer, give them a rundown.
All right, it's a 9-day period. It's really today is where it begins, and it ends next Friday. Not this coming Friday, but next Friday. So tonight we are already finished, so I don't have to plug it. Tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern time, It's a little bit earlier than you might be used to. It's basically the same time that we usually go live for Lucha Rewatch on Wednesdays. We will be going live at 5 p.m. tomorrow for our NXT TakeOver Philadelphia preview and predictions. And then at 7, because I'm assuming that our preview predictions won't take more than like an hour and a half tops. So then at 7, we'll be going live again with our January Q&A. Get your Q&A questions in. And if you do want to ask questions, you can either do it on Twitter, where all you have to do is click on John's Twitter link in the down in the description and just reply to his pinned tweet with your questions. So you can ask up to 4 questions, and all of them or a few of them can be to both of us or to one or the other. Either way, it doesn't really matter. A lot of people will just kind of ask their questions to both of us because there's no point in not doing that unless you have a question that's very specifically catered to one or the other. John's philosophy and anime. I love football and numbers. So that's kind of what you're getting in for there if you're not familiar. And then on Friday, we'll be doing our preview predictions for the Royal Rumble, but that'll be a little bit later. That'll be a 9 p.m. commentary. And again, I don't expect that to go longer than like an hour and a half tops. Saturday, live reactions to TakeOver Philadelphia. Sunday, live reactions to the Royal Rumble. Monday, live reactions to the New Beginning Sapporo show that happens on Saturday, and live reactions to the post-Rumble episode of Raw Monday night. Then Tuesday, Progress Chapter 5 live reactions and post-Rumble SmackDown live reactions. So that's all happening in those 2 days. Wednesday, nothing has changed. We're still going to be doing Lucha Rewatch. No NXT review, though, because it will be the first episode of NXT after a takeover. Then Thursday, we're going to be doing our live reactions to the New Beginning in Sapporo show that happened on Sunday. That's the 128 show. And then we'll be doing, that's the one headlined by Kenny Omega versus Switchblade. And then finally, Friday, we've got a cluster of like 3 to 5 matches that have been requested for us to live react to by Cliff and All on Patreon. So we're going to be doing that on Friday. So there is our entire schedule over the next 9 days. I think if you add it up, we end up doing like 12 or 13 commentaries over a 9-day period. It's pretty insane.
It is insane. My co-ordinator commentary just gave a better rundown than I ever could because I probably.
And I did it in 2 minutes. Suck it.
Absolutely. So, guys, with that said, you know when to join us. It begins well, it started today, like you said, but tomorrow, you know that it's TakeOver Philadelphia preview predictions. We go live with that at 5, and then Q&A, we go live with that at 7 p.m. So if you have any last-minute questions, get them in now, guys, because that window is closing. So we'll see you guys tomorrow, and until then, tune in and peace out.